Hi, good evening. Welcome to the July meeting of the Lower Makefield Township Historical Commission. We have only 4 of us here this evening, so we'll probably just be talk to a few quick topics and then postpone some of this discussion to our next meeting in September. So what I wanted to do was start by looking for approval of the minutes from the June 2022 meeting. And does anyone have any comments on the minutes first?
I'm sorry, Joe, I didn't get a chance to look at them.
Okay. So, Victor, did you?
I skimmed over it, and I mean, I wasn't there present for the meeting, so.
Okay. Why don't we postpone the approval of the June minutes then to the September meeting? Okay.
Sounds good.
Just look at it. Okay. So there's a bunch of things that are on here. I mean, you know, one of the ongoing, I had a couple of issues. One is on the Dendrochronology Project, but without Helen here, I'm not so sure it makes sense to discuss that. Tom, I know you were also, you know, talking to Mike Worthington about this. Did you make any progress on that?
I did get in touch with him, and he said, you know, call me anytime. I called and got his voicemail, and I said, you know, how do we want to proceed? We need to get some sort of a proposal from you, right? And I'm assuming that you, in order to give us a proposal, you're going to have to see the properties. So, and he never got back to me, so unfortunately, but I'll keep pursuing that. Okay. From Helen's perspective, it sounds like Mike Cuba has, or Mark Cuba, whatever his name is backing out, doesn't think that it's worthwhile doing. Is that correct?
So I read it somewhat differently, right? I read it that Mark, the buildings that Helen wanted to have done, which was I think it was the cottage, the wagon house, and the small barn. I think he said it doesn't make sense, or he can't do those, and you know, maybe we should just do Satterthwaite. But so, and Helen wanted to move forward, but I said I think that's not necessarily the motion, right? You know, that we had, so we would have to kind of update that motion. So I think he's kind of changing his proposal as to what would be done, which is okay. I mean, we can have a discussion around that. My question back to her was, but does that tell us anything, or how does that help us, right? Like, I mean, I know that Helen was very interested in having the dendrochronology done on the cottage because she believes that it, you know, it's actually a 17th century structure, you know, so, and she wanted to have some affirmation around that. Now that we're not doing that anymore, certainly we can look at the other structures. We know already, you know, from the, I believe from the Bucks County tax code that they were there in the beginning of, you know, in like 1798. So does it help us to know that they were built in 1770 or 1740? Like, I don't, so what I wanted to have a discussion around is how does that information help us, right? You know, what does it do for us, right? So, but I think we're going to just have to postpone that to our next meeting.
Yeah, I agree with you, but let's just talk about it a little bit. I had the same question when we first started talking about this. What are we going to do with this information? Now, I'm assuming that we want this to go into the application for the National Historic Registry, right?
I mean, yes, we do, but will that make that a better submission?
Well, I don't see how. I mean,
yeah,
whether it's a 1750 building or an 1850 building, it still falls under the historical significance. And you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me. I just wasn't understanding how this information was going to get used.
Right. Yeah. 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 I mean, that was exactly why I said I thought we should have a discussion. It's good to do projects and get information, but the question is, what are you going to do with the information?
Yeah. And then, of course, there was the whole Oxford, England library, which makes no sense to me whatsoever.
But I thought I copied you. So Mark had said to Helen that he and Mike both use, there's only one library and they all share it. And so he and Mike are both using the same library.
Well,
So
according to Mike, that's not the case.
that's not the case. Okay.
Mike says he has his own library.
All right.
And he also agreed with me when I said, explain to me how it makes sense to use a library in the UK. I mean, the weather patterns between North America and the UK are so incredibly different.
Right.
And he goes, you're right. He says, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
He says, I have my own library and I've used that library to date, dozens and dozens of buildings along the Mid-Atlantic.
Right.
So, I have to have a sit down chat with him, and get an answer to some of these questions.
Yeah. And what we might need to do, Tom, is, arrange a Zoom call with, the three, you, Helen, and I on it with Mark and Mike, and at the same time, but separately. So we all are asking the same questions and hearing the same thing.
That's a great idea, Jim. I will try to do that.
Yeah. And otherwise, it's just getting to be a little bit too.
Yeah. It's telephone. Yeah.
Right. First, I wanted to circle back with Helen and ask her, how she saw the information being used. Especially if we can't do the structure she originally wanted to do and have to focus just on Satterthwaite, so.
The other problem I'm having, being new to this commission is when you talk about the little barn and the cottage, and I don't know which buildings you're talking about. And I tried to get Helen to, lay it all out for me, and it didn't help. So if somebody has a map or something with these things labeled, that would be very helpful.
If you look at the report that the ad hoc committee does, there is a map and they are labeled. And that's exactly what I did too. Because I also wasn't sure of which building was which. And I went back to their report and they do a nice job of, I think they, labeled them S1 through something and P1 through something.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. I'll dig that out then.
Yeah. And then you can see the whole, sometimes it's called the caretaker's cabin, sometimes it's called the Tuncliffe cabin, sometimes it's called the caretaker's cottage, right? But actually in the ad hoc report, it kind of disambiguates all that stuff, right? So
now that structure that's on the back of the Satterthwaite house, what is that called?
I think that's the wagon shed.
The wagon shed. That's attached to the.
But it has another name too, but I think Helen refers to it as the wagon shed.
And it's believed that was the original dwelling, and then the Satterthwaite house was added on to that, or do I got that mixed up?
No, I think the belief is so. Remember where we were crawling at the very back of the Satterthwaite house, which is actually closest to that wagon shed. It is believed that is the oldest part of the house, right?
That's what I'm saying. So is that have a different name?
No, that's just part of Satterthwaite. So
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, we could get information. So Helen might come back and say, yeah, we could actually get a more accurate information of the three phases of the house, and when they were built. And then from an architectural significance point of view, that may add to the National Register submission, right? But that's the discussion I wanted to have,
Well, when I looked at the application from 2007 or something like that, 6, I didn't see any comments or questions that were insurmountable, that we didn't have answers for.
Right.
So, I think let's just pull that information together, get the questions answered, and send it off.
Right. Yeah. If I recall, most of the questions were around the agriculture, right? Because the case was being made not just on architectural significance, but also on the agricultural significance. And there was questions around what crops were grown and how much was produced and those types of things, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to talk to Helen and find out what is the National Historic Registry, what are they looking for, right? I mean, there's no question this is a historic building and it's a historic farm, right? So what are we missing? What do they want to see? Why is it important that we tell them what crops were grown when? I don't know. And she could probably help me understand that better.
Yeah, well, I think, remember the original one, she didn't write the original one. It was written by, I think it was Heritage Conservancy. And I think she has a different view in terms of the importance and what she would do. So, yeah, I mean, she might actually rip that one up and start again. So, yeah. Yeah, so let's kind of come back to that discussion, talk about that, talk about why the Dendrochronology Project then would be important to support that. And then we could just, whatever we decide, we could update our motion and then go forward.
Sounds like a plan.
Very good. Let's look at the next one. So the next one was on the Historical and Archival Records Care Grant. So, so I guess, Chris, I know you were going to take the lead in terms of drafting the grant proposal, and just can you give us an update, and what help, do you need any help from us?
I should have a draft done by Sunday night, Monday morning would be my guess, to share with the group, and then take comments from there.
Okay.
I didn't move as quickly as I had hoped. I also didn't realize that I was missing a week in there. I think it was only 3 weeks since the last meeting. I thought I had an
Yes,
extra,
there's only 3 weeks.
extra week.
Last meeting was
So,
later week. Yeah.
yeah, I looked at the calendar today and or yesterday morning and said, "Oh my gosh, this thing is tomorrow." So
Right.
yeah, but I'll get it done through the weekend, and then we can go through any comments next week.
Okay. Did you have a chance to talk to Jim Majewski at all about the grant and get any? Does he have any insights in terms of, that, or how to do the application? Or
I haven't. I was primarily working off of the YouTube that you guys had sent over, that they had put out. But I can reach out to Jim. Certainly want to make sure if he has anything to offer on the draft as well.
he might. I mean, he may have in his past life, or even in this life, actually submitted a grant there. May have some hints for us in terms of
I'll drop him an email. I still have to write him on the computer system for past
I
perfect.
got an answer from him on the computer system. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so you're gonna send around a draft for us to review and give comment on things. Okay, very good. We'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
So the status of the laptop, I'll forward this over to you. Have it, Chris. You just sent me an email this evening. Said the computer that the historical. So the computer that he has for us, he says, runs very slowly on Windows 10. It's not very usable, right? So he checked the 2022 budget. So we have $500 allocated to the Historical Commission. We can use that to buy a laptop. Now, whether we can get a laptop that functions for Past Perfect for $500, we have to discuss. So that was his suggestion, that we just use that money.
If you want to loop me into that, I am sure I have a laptop somewhere in here that may run well enough for him to load the software on it. If he's agreeable to that, I'd rather not use our limited budget to buy a computer when I have one here.
Okay. All right. I will loop you in, and you can ask him. I mean, you may need to donate it to the township because we're a township organization. And then I think he has, where you can actually go online and look at Past Perfect. I think they give you the requirements, the system requirements right there. So, all right, very good. Then the last topic I had was on the Historical Commission representation. So I thought James was going to join us tonight. So James has said that he's going to need to resign from the commission because of his studies, and also because he's moving out of the township. I believe he's moving out of the township in September. So he'll have to resign, as well as that leaves a vacancy on the ad hoc property committee. So Dennis Stedman reached out to me and asked me if I would fill that vacancy for the Historical Commission, and I agreed to participate in doing that. So I just wanted to give people an update on that. It'll be helpful because I'll be able to update you guys in terms of what's going on, and we'll be able to work together with the ad hoc property committee. And then Dennis had basically sent a message out that things are kind of on hold until September. So nothing's really going to happen until we get back after Labor Day anyway. So I was hoping that James would join. Maybe I can convince James to join the September meeting so we can say goodbye and thank him for his work on the committee, because he's done an excellent job. So, okay. That was it. That was it from my side. Remember, there's no August meeting. Our next meeting is September 14th.
Okay, if I can get a Zoom meeting set up with Mike Worthington, we can do that anytime, right?
Yeah, we can do it anytime, right? We can, yeah, so I think we can move forward with that. And then when Helen's back, we can ask her to do the same with Mark, right? So we'll have that by the September meeting, you know, Chris will provide whatever support you need to review and give comments on the grant proposal to get that submitted, because that's due August 1st, correct?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And then otherwise, have a great summer.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone.
Be well.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.